In this video we'll take a closer look at the Android layout markup to give you a head start in understanding its parts and intricacies. This layout has been composed by dragging layouts and views into this graphical layout view. As a preparation for this video, I have stripped it from unnecessary IDs which ADT defines as soon as you drop a view or layout into the view. You can see which layout element or view carries an ID by looking at the outline panel. If defined, the ID of the element, like in the case of those three buttons, will show up here. Otherwise, you'll see the name of the class of this layout or view. Now let's look at the XML. I click on this tab, main.xml. As a preparation, I have also provided some line feeds and indentation to make the code more readable. The first thing you see is that the root element of this XML is linear layout. You can also see that the root element defines the Android namespace right here. Here there's a namespace of Android defined, and you'll see several attributes carrying this namespace Android : The root element, the linear layout, is defined as vertical. And as you can see, if you browse through the code, every one of those view elements must, by definition, carry at least the attributes layout width and layout height, so that Android knows how to arrange those parts. Let's scroll down a little. You see, every one of those elements, every one of those views defines layout width and layout height. That's a must. In some cases, we can see some explicit values for those attributes. Like here, 96 DIP and 56 DIP, which stands for density independent pixels. You could also write this as DP, which is actually the same. Colors, for example, can be written as in CSS, in HTML like this, or with an optional alpha channel. This, for example, would mean fully opaque orange color. If an attribute carries more than one value, they're usually combined by the pipe symbol. Of course, tidying up your code in this way is totally optional. For me, it has turned out that writing the code this way makes it easy to grasp the hierarchy of the elements, as well as it facilitates deleting or adding attributes. Let's scroll down to the buttons. Here you see the attribute ID with a very strange value, if you haven't seen it before. There's an @ sign in the beginning, a plus, ID, and a slash. This is actually a very simple way to tell Android to create an ID for this element. The @ sign stands for reference, the plus sign for creating this ID. And if you have a look at the generated class r.java, here, double-click on it, you'll find exactly those IDs defined in this class. It is a good practice to create IDs which tells you more about the nature of this element. Within our layout, these three buttons are supposed to lead to the 3 pages of our application: Sensors, Staff, and Starlog. Thus, I'll change the ID of these buttons to btn_sensors, btn_staff, and btn_starlog. Control S or Command S on Mac saves the document. And I can see as soon as you save the document, the R class is generated again. And here they are, my 3 IDs. It is good practice to introduce a prefix to the ID, because via this R class, you refer to these IDs from within Java code. And this will tell you what kind of element this ID is referring to. Of course, I also edit the text of this button so it reflects its function. Sensors, Staff, and Starlog. Now let's have a closer look at other uses for this @ symbol. I'll scroll down to our text views. For now, we're leaving the IDs of the text views as they are, but I want to have a look at the text of the second text view here, which at the moment reads body. I'll delete the text, and if you hit Control Space, you'll see this hint pop up. We already know this creates an ID, and there are 4 other suggestions, each of them carrying the @ sign at the beginning. These are all references to resources. Let's have a look what happens if I click on @string. I hit Command Space again to review more code completion tips. And now it shows me @string/appname and @string/hello. Let's click on hello. And now if I switch back to the graphical layout, you'll see that it now reads Hello World Main. This is a very typical way to cross-reference resources in Android. Because if you open the subfolder values of the resource folder, you see another XML file called strings.xml. And if I double-click on it, it will reveal an entry named hello. Here you can see the name, hello, and here you can see its value, hello world main, which is what we have seen at main.xml right here. As you can see, providing this string reference to that defined string makes Android look for the value of the string and enter it automatically. It's pretty easy to see that this facilitates further separation of content from your code. Now you've seen all the basics of layouts in Android. With what you've just learned under your belt, you'll be able to grasp any kind of layout in Android.